Hello everybody, Walter here. Welcome to episode 25 of my Oxygen Not Included Let's Play series with the Space Dot DLC. In the previous episode we expanded greatly our ranching setup with a Paco ranch, a couple of pip ranches, and some Pokeshow ranches. Now I think we have concentrated on the core of our base for long enough. It's finally time to start expanding again and maybe taming a couple volcanoes. So let's jump back to our colony and have a look. And here we are, back at the ranches we built last time. Now, as I said, the first thing I would like to do is taming a couple volcanoes. The first of which can be found over here, and if you set the priority to max, you can see this is a copper volcano. So, let's actually start with planning out the tamer, which will be based on this design over here, which itself is based on a design by Tony Advanced. So, let's get started. The first thing I need is actually a little steam chamber at the bottom here for high. And since this might get a bit warm, I'm going to use ceramic for that. Then I have my second cooling chamber up there, and then the third, which goes a bit higher than in the other design, and has a second floor on top, like so. Now, in this spot I can already put in my steam turbine. Let's make that out of gold. I have more of that than copper. Then, in here, let's start with utilities. The thermal aqua tuner out of steel. In this spot, then I can also put in an auto sweeper again out of steel on top of the volcano. And a conveyor loader again out of steel on the side right there. Then, let's go to power. I'm going to need 3 smart batteries in the top chamber there. I am also going to need a conveyor shutoff in this chamber up there. Now I can think about wiring. So those just go straight down, and in here I'm going to use iron. Like so. That should be all I need in there. Then let's go to automation. I need some wire here, I need some wire there, and just to suppress the warning messages I'm going to put a spot of wire on those 3 spots there. Now I can work on the piping. Then the thermal sensor down there. Now the radiant pipes in those spots. Then the connection to the 2 vents. And now for the cooling system. I need first the 2 liquid bridges, then the input coming from the top and the output going back up. Then I have my first cooling loop down here. Then I jump up, and here I don't need that much cooling, so I'm going to use normal pipes for that. And the last thing missing is a bridge right there. Now, I'm still missing the conveyor rails, so let's continue with those. So first down here, then to this spot. Then I'm going to switch to steel. Make the loop, go around, and then up. Zigzag, over, zigzagging a few more times. And then over and out. And this one here I'll leave out for now, because that one is currently stopping the volcano from actually erupting. I'm still missing a couple metal tiles in those 4 spots, and that should be pretty much all I'm going to need in here. So let's start making some spots for my tubes to actually get in there. So here. Then if I build this the correct way, I won't even have to evacuate the entire chamber down here. So let's make space for some temporary liquid locks. So I'm going to place one here, one there, and a third one there, and up there I don't need that. And I totally forgot to set the priorities. Yeah, so let's just make sure this is done for now. So, and now I'll have to build all of this, but first my dupes need a way to get in here from the side. And there we go, this is now all cleaned up, and my dupes can reach everything they need. I also went ahead and changed the priorities a bit, so that this whole thing here is built with the walls placed in first, and I'm also somewhat building it from the top down to make sure that this chamber here and this chamber here remain in a vacuum, so I won't have to pump them out later on. And just as I was saying that, we had a little accident over here with sand collapsing and letting oxygen in there, and even some bleached stone which produced chlorine gas, but the fix is pretty simple. All I need to do is add a couple tiles in there, and once they are built and the gases are removed, I can delete them again. Okay, a couple cycles later, we are almost done with this build, except I just noticed I forgot the timer sensor up there. Let's actually increase the priority. Then once this is in place, close this part here off. And now, let's have a look. The copper volcano is currently dormant, so I can finish this build here. I can also start the analyzing, and yeah, that should be below the melting point of steel. Let's have a quick look. Yep, that is below the melting point, so I won't have the issue I had with the gold volcanoes, which just melted my conveyor rails. While I'm here, I might as well put in the temp shift plate 2. Then let's set this here for all. This here is already set. This one here I will have to set once I know how much copper I'm getting. What I also need to do is flush out all of the polluted oxygen and maybe even the oxygen. So let's see. Yeah, I'm just going to close this off here. Then a mesh tile down there. Now I'm going to grab myself a canister emptier, and then I can just put in a couple canisters of hydrogen and flush out all of the other gases down there. Or up here at least. So that shouldn't be too hard. I also need water in here. This I can also do with a bottle emptier. And the last thing I need to fill in is this cooling loop here. And I think I'm just going to grab myself some of this pre-chilled water or polluted water from the top there. So I'm just going to grab myself a liquid pipe, run this down, and then, yeah, just... So here, maybe without that kink here. Yeah, and then just with a liquid bridge right in there. And once I have all of this here pre-filled, I can close all of the various parts here. And should be pretty much done with this Tamer here. There we go, the cooling pipe is now filled. I had two little issues I had to work around. First of all, I had to make this little kink here, or, well, my tubes would have removed this tile here, and, well, I wouldn't have a vacuum in here anymore. And the second is, this is pretty much the worst spot to put in the water because it completely blocks the water flow and actually overfills the loop. But after filling around a bit, I have now the perfect amount of water in here, and as you can see, it's flowing nicely. I also already have all of the oxygen and polluted oxygen up here removed, so I can now start cleaning up a bit. So this is no longer needed, this is no longer needed. The pipes here are also no longer needed. And I can get rid of all of this here and also the output there. And once all of this here is cleaned up, I can just close this off and be done with it. Except, before I forget it, I still need to work on the settings. This here should turn on when I'm above 25 degrees. And this here, after a little bit of calculations, well, as you can see, this here only produces 332 grams per second on average, which is not really that much, but it translates into, when I'm green for 0.9 seconds, I need to be red for a total of 95 seconds roundabout. A bit more usually, but it won't hurt to go a bit overboard with that. So, once all of this here is in place, and maybe let's increase the priority for this here in the middle a bit, so this is done first. And then I can work on that part. Then I can get rid of this here, and also I think I should put in a couple deodorizers just to be on the safe side and, well, deal with all of this polluted oxygen around the area here. But we are still not done entirely with this area here, because I still need to hook this up to my railway system. So this conveyor here will go straight over and then just in there. Which means I need to start digging, and since I also want to get to this up there, I might as well start digging out this entire frozen biome here, and while I'm there also this swamp biome on top of it. And those are all of the necessary building and digging orders placed down. Now let's have a look. This should be done quite soon. Let's go with a higher priority there. And yeah, once that is in place, I can build in a couple ladders like so. And then those can go. That is pretty much all I need to do over here. Over here, the cleanup is coming along quite nicely, so that can all be mopped up again. And those here are things my dupes can do in the background. Except, yeah, still waiting for some more ceramic, which is coming from over here right now. So we should see this very quickly be fixed. Or at least I hope. Okay, Gosman is still coming, so soon we should see this fixed. Let's speed this up a tiny bit, so we won't have to wait too long. And that's the last part done. And we are finally finished with this Tamer for the gold volcano over there. And in roundabout 14 cycles we should see this producing the first bits of copper. Very nice to see that. Now, with all of this here being done in the background, I started on removing this whole building over here, which will take a little while, but will also allow me to finally get my hands on the mob over there. So I can put it into the Fluxomatic at the top there. Very nice to see, and that way I should get a little bit more lore unlocked for the story tree at the top there. So this is still all... Okay, this is already all inspected, so I will at some point put a dupe in here, but for now I'll just have to wait until all of this here is removed properly. And here comes Travaldo with the mob, which any second now should start to move about. And yeah, of course it's moving left first, but now it's being analyzed. And let's speed this up. This is usually taking a few seconds. And there we go. We have the mobs analyzed, and yeah, DNA results confirm this species is the very definition of icky. Yeah. Now, the orb I'm going to leave in there, and since it's producing occasionally some polluted oxygen with slime lung, I decided to put a couple deodorizers over here, which I should maybe prioritize a bit more, and that way I should keep my base from being flooded overly much with the germs from the mob. So that's nice to see. This is still being dug out in the background, and all of this here now needs to go. And here I might as well put in some mesh tiles so I'm not stopping gas flow. And before I skip ahead a bit, I might as well work on excavating this ancient specimen here. Let's speed this up again and finish this word rate here. So this can go, this can all be dug out, it's no longer needed. And Ashkan is already on the way and starting to excavate the ancient specimen over here, which is the last of the 4 specimens to analyze, and any second now we should get this finished. There we go. This is now finished, so we have the last DNA sampled, and now for the final message. My duplicants have meticulously reassembled as much of the giant critters' scattered remains as they could find. Their efforts have unearthed a seemingly bottomless fossil quarry beneath the largest fragments dig site. Nestled among the topmost bones was a handcrafted critter collar. It's too large to have belonged to any species traditionally categorized as companion animals. And now let's activate this. We get a little antique. And we have now access to the fossil quarry, which allows us to turn a kilogram of diamond into 100 kilograms of fossil, which means that since diamonds can be produced out of coal, and coal is renewable, fossils, and with that lime and with that steel are also now completely renewable. Very nice to see, although I won't make use of that for right now. But I think the next step is essentially just waiting until this whole party has been dug out, and then I can work a bit more on integrating this supply teleport input into my normal base network. And there we go. Took about 16 cycles, but now everything is dug out. I also decided to add a ladder and firepole combination on the end to make it a bit easier for my dupes to get around. And now all that's left is sweeping up the leftover debris that's not still lying around down here. In the intermediate time, as you can see, the copper volcano also woke up, so we are now getting about 20 kilograms of copper every minute, which is very nice to see. Anyway, next up, let's have a look at this supply teleporter input. First of all, we need to activate this, and then we need to hook it up to our network. Namely, it needs a conveyor input, or well, stuff to put in here. And then the same for liquids and gases. And since this will support or supply our secondary colony on Dripulin with everything it's going to need, I'm going to put in water, oxygen, and then, well, food and other solids. Let's start with the conveyor here. So, actually, yeah, priority is set. So let's go with the conveyor. We need to go over here and then, yeah, let's just go up here in the middle. That way I avoid this little kink over here. And I'm very low on iron, I just saw. So I might want to use copper at some point. So let's see. Yeah, let's go up here. Yeah, and from here on I'm going to use copper. And then I'm just going to run this over here. Yeah, that should work. Then, gases. I am going to use this pipe here, and then I'm just going to go down over here with a gas bridge. Then following this, and I'm just going to run all the way to the bottom. Then over, and then into the output here. And Max is already working on activating the supply teleport input. And once he's done here, all that's left is turning on the output on the second asteroid. So let's speed this up a tiny bit. In any second now, Max should be done. Yeah. Okay, this is now activated. And all that's left is waiting for the second one also to be activated. Now, next up. As I said, I also want to put in water. And I already have a dedicated line with water down here, so I might as well reuse that one. And for that, all I need to do is go straight up here. And then I can follow this path here. So let's go up. Then with another bridge over here. Over. Another bridge. Then I go down here, and okay, this is going to... Yeah, this should work. Yeah, all I need to do is snip off here. Add a bridge here, another bridge there. And then I'm just going to go straight down. Again, follow the path. And that's all I need. So, and just to make sure that this is not getting disrupted too much, I'm going to increase the priority here a bit. Yeah, that's already all I need to hook this up. And now I mainly have to wait for this to build, except there is one more part for the conveyor system that I want to hook up, and that is the output of this kitchen setup here. So let's, you know what, I'm going to change the setup a tiny bit. I'm going to, instead of going up here, I'm going to go down through a conveyor bridge and then straight over, which means I can remove these parts here. And while that is being done, I should make sure this here is closed, because I don't want those two to actually be put in this spot up there. And if this is closed, it should drop down simply. So any second now. Yeah, that's exactly what I want to see. Okay, now let's have a look what we can print out. Anything useful. Cooking supply tiddying. It is an option for my second colony. Although I won't really need a cook over there right now. Researching, suit wearing, doctoring. Not really what I'm looking for. Or do I want to put some slug eggs in here? That might be an idea for a bit later. Yeah, I'm going to grab myself some of those slug eggs, and I'm just going to move them over here into the fluxomatic chamber. So once they hatch, they will be automatically analyzed. So, then there's stuff lying around here. Okay, that should be tidied up. And now, I might as well add under stations. Where is it? Grooming station in here. So I start grooming them for another achievement. But there is still one more volcano I want to tame today, and that is hidden behind here. And if we go for higher priority, you can see it's an iron volcano. So let's start working on that. And the first step is digging out this biome, and I might as well start digging out in the top part of this biome here, so I can also access this supply teleport output over here. So another 10 cycles in, and the area around the teleporter and also the volcano is cleared up, so I can start working on those. And as you can see here, I'm trying something a slightly bit different than before, or well, similar to what I did in the beginning of this episode. As you can see, I put in the missing tiles for the future vacuum chambers. And now all I need to do is basically build the chamber around that with an entrance, and then all I need is a airlock on one side. Let's place this on the left side. So one here, another one there, and then I can get in here, so here and here. For now I'm just going to place temporary blocks there. And that way, once those are replaced with some liquid naphtha, I can just dig in here and I won't have to worry about creating a vacuum manually. So the rest of the build is following exactly the same pattern as you have already seen once before this episode. So there will be no real surprises here. The internals are exactly as shown in the beginning of this episode. And just a bit later, the Tamer is pretty much done. The last part is actually having a look at the volcano, which is currently active. Although this shouldn't be much of an issue, I have a decent amount of water in here. So let's have a quick look. Okay, this will definitely be able to melt through steel. So I think instead of using steel, I'm going to use wolframite, which has a melting temperature of roughly 3000 degrees. So I'm definitely safe when using that one. Then let's have a look. I'm still missing the temp shift plate in here and still need a dupe to come by and, well, Max to come by to be more precise and have a look at the output here. And yeah, okay, in roughly a minute or so, that should be idle again and I shouldn't be into any issues. Anyway, as I still need to connect the output to this rail over here, and I'm going to use copper since I'm, well, almost out of iron. So let's connect this, and well, this is pretty much all I need to tame this iron volcano down here. And that's going to be pretty close actually. The volcano is erupting and I'm just about to close this up. So let's see. Hopefully I won't get... Yeah, that should work quite nicely. I think there's a good chance I won't even have any water evaporating. Yeah, okay, that is good. Now I can get rid of, well, not that high priority. 9 is enough. So this can be now all be removed. And yeah, that is this volcano tamed. And I just noticed I forgot the spots of automation wire here. So let me very quickly rectify this little thing up there. And that's a wrap. The Iron Volcano Tamer is now officially finished, and in 1 or 2 cycles we should see the first bit of steam arising. Very nice to see that. Next up, let's have a look at our supply teleport output, which is the return line for our second base or future base. First things first, we need to activate it. Then we need to hook it up to the various networks, which is for one the solid network here. Then I have gases, which I can just run straight up. And then finally liquids, which I have over here. So I'm just going to follow the solid line and that's about it. And as you can see, Max, even if he isn't feeling too well right now, is already working on enabling this teleporter here. And in just a few moments we should see that being finished. Yeah, there we go. Now I only need to activate the teleporter on the other side. Next up, let's fix a few issues I found while I was waiting on all of this here. The first is over here, a temperature leak from the oil biome to the outside, caused basically by the spawning of this oil reservoir here, which, as you can see, has already decreased the temperature to below 70 degrees from usually way over 80 and maybe even up to, well, 90 degrees partially. So I am for now just going to insulate this with a layer of, well, insulated tiles. And now let's have a look at the Paco Ranch from last time, because I totally forgot to put in a wall with a door on the side here. So let's quickly fix that. So that wasn't hard. What will be a bit more annoying is dealing with the poke shells, since as you can see they don't drown. Now the first thing I already fixed in between a couple cuts before was that I had the critter limit here still to the max of 20. Those, as I said, I fixed in the intermediate time. But what I already noticed is the issue up here. So I have a couple poke shells in there, and for now I'm just going to get rid of them manually, but I will have to work on an alternative. And I think I'm just going to put a dedicated jail cell just for the poke shells up here. So what I essentially need is just a little space here, because I want them to actually grow to an adult, since they will then mold and will produce more lime later on, essentially. So this is still open, so I can get in there. Then a conveyor loader to the side, which should be reachable via this one here. Yeah, that works. Then I should make sure I'm not putting any pinch row in here anymore. And then I can connect them here. I will need some power. And those here I will have to put somewhere else. But wow, this is quite a lot. You guys are pretty productive, I must say. Okay, that is interesting. So now the simplest way is just mopping them or sweeping them up, which will put them up here. Where have it? There is it. We'll put them in here, and then they will be automatically put back over. And oh, we had a little accident with water, but we still have a vacuum over there, so that is still working. Okay, so, but for now, let's quickly fix this little problem over here. And with that, I hope my dupes remain out of range of any angry poke shells, although maybe they can reach, since they are 2 blocks high, reach through the floor and attack my dupes up there. I must admit I haven't tested this out in advance, so maybe I will have to move this over into this corner a bit later when I notice that being an issue. But for now, this is working as intended, so let's leave it as is. And let's work on one more thing I forgot earlier, which is over here, the setting of the timer sensor. So it needs to be turned on for 0.9 and turned off for 62 seconds. That should work out quite nicely for the 317.5 grams per second of iron we are getting out of this on average. Okay, now let's work on... Wait, where is this water coming from? This is overflowing? Why is this? Okay, it's only fed with one liquid for now, and must have been for a good while. That is the only real downside I can see to this type of mechanical filter, because if it's fed with just one liquid, it starts to overflow at some point with 100 milligram packets. Because if it's only fed with one liquid, as you can see here, it starts to accumulate every second 100 milligrams in this spot, and once this spot is full, it, as I said, starts to overflow. And that is usually fixed by pumps not only or always pumping 10 kilograms or, well, alternating liquids, but that is no longer the case. So let's have a look what's going on down here. Okay, they are now both in polluted water. Yeah, all of this came from over here and flushed this one here. But yeah, this one here is almost done with all of the polluted water over here and will soon be in normal water again, so that shouldn't be an issue for long. I don't think I need to do anything. So, but let's mop that up, and now let's work on one more story trait for this episode, which is this somnium synthesizer, which I need to activate. I will also need to get my hands on a pajama, so let's do that too. The synthesizer also needs oxygen, which I can grab myself from the pipe up there. And then a connection here. And quite soon I should see a couple dupes coming by and working on that. Let's just speed this up a tiny bit. So yeah, Ellie is looking through the options. And this is now also active. And we have our first pajama. And okay, decor plus 30, but athletics minus 8. So someone who doesn't need to run around all the time. Yeah, let's give this to our cook. And the idea is basically when this is fed with oxygen and my dupes are sleeping with a pajama, they produce dream journals, which then can be fed to the somnium synthesizer. And once a couple are fed in here, this whole thing here will give my entire colony a temporary buff to various attributes. Now, there is one more thing I would like to have a look at, because if I remember correctly, I put my cook into a snazzy blue suit, which is now lying around. So who is getting that one? Yeah, this is something for my new palette. Okay, so this is now all fixed. We should very soon see our first dream journal if everything works properly. And yeah, now everything else I could start would take a decent while. So I think I'm just going to wait for my dupes to dig out and build out this part here, and also the part on the top right over here. And my two slugs just hatched and should be analyzed any second now. So yeah, that is looking quite good. Let's just speed this up a tiny bit and we should see our corresponding message. So, warning, electrical charge emitted by this specimen nearly short-circuited this building. Okay, so we now have a plug sluglet which will produce a certain amount of power, or at least when it goes up, I think it will. But yeah, let's just get rid of this one here. I don't need this. And this one here over there will just wait until it gets grouped, and then I will also get rid of that one. I don't need it here. This is just to get a bit ahead in this story trait here and in the lore, because I am a completionist and I prefer to have all uncovered which I can uncover. So anyway, my dupes are still working, I suspect. Yeah, we are almost done over here, and once this is done I can work on the top right corner. And that's it. All of the digging is now done. My dupes are still busy sweeping the floors, but this is pretty much all I had planned for today. We even managed to find the surface gravitas building, which means that next episode we are not only going to space, but we are likely going to get our hands on a decent number of data banks to advance in our research. But having said that, I think this is a good point to stop with this episode here. We have, as I said, managed pretty much all I had planned for today, which were, for one, taming the copper and the iron volcano here, and for the other, hooking up the teleporter output and the teleporter input to our various networks. And I actually think I forgot to show you the final result for this, so you can see the water is now being fed in, the oxygen is being fed in, And once I am actually working on the secondary colony, I am going to put in a decent amount of food via the solid line here. And that brings us to the actual end of this episode. I hope you enjoyed it. Please like, share, and comment if you did so. It really helps with the algorithm. Independent of that, I wish you a nice day, and well, see ya.